On the other day, we are working on different kinds of lambdas, how the lambdas were created, how to transform them, how to use for our purpose. And in this point, so let me show you another lambda, how to work with these lambdas, how to add values. As is shown in the previous class, lambdas when you create, you can see all the lambdas that were there. So till now I have created some lambdas. All the lambdas you can see. Overall I have 10 lambda functions. And code storage, I have taken this much space. Totally how much space was given? 75 GB was there. So within that 75 GB only I need to use. So generally whatever your code you passed will not take much time. But when you have a third-party modules like a request or something else, that's where like your more memory will happen. To handle that only, they came with the concept of lambda layers. I will tell you all of them one after the other. And you see here unreserved account concurrency means at a time 10 calls can happen. That's the advantage. And this is my dashboard. So resources for Europe means like wherever I am. And these lambdas wherever you deploy, they will be region specific. So if your infrastructure is more in a particular region, better try that. And for this, it is giving the metrics like how many were success, how many were failures. So over a period of time, failures were reduced and success was more. Means like things are good. Next, what is throttling? Not at this moment. Throttling is a concept to say that whenever like too many requests are happening on a particular thing, if you want to limit the number of requests, so rate of requests, all of them we can do with this throttling. And how many invocations are happening, at what time invocations happen. In my local time zone, it was happening for these durations. And how much duration this happened, so how many milliseconds executed and others. And you know, Lambda, they will cost for two things. The amount of memory that you are uploading and like amount of memory you are using, RAM usage, and amount of time it is executing. They will combine these two together to get your billing. So we have seen like different kinds of lambdas earlier also. So if I go for the lambda functions, you can see there are different lambda functions which are created. So this is one just like I'm testing. Let me delete it. Yeah, if I want to delete a lambda function, this is how you do. You select something. Do you want to test, view details, or delete? If you want to delete it. So it is asking to specifically ask the word called as delete. So now if I want to create again the same thing also, I can do. So I can close it. And also yesterday we have seen the lambda functions, how different kinds of things that we can pass to it and you can work. And at the same time, I also showed you that what are the different kinds of data types that you can return from a lambda function. If you write a function, you can have like, so alphanumeric, hyphens and others. So you create a typical lambda like this, right? So if you create a lambda, it will take a moment. Then like it will create the lambda. Within that lambda, we can specify what all things that you want. Now we need to add the code. The code is that I just want to show you like what all things that we can return. You see, in this case, first time I am returning a string. In a lambda, we can return in fact anything for that matter. Sir, should we go in a particular format and others means no. And also not every lambda expects a event. In this particular case, I don't want any event. I can use a dummy event. So share and edit a share an edit existing event, or you can use it. So if I say like, A0, so event, if I say, I don't want to use it, anything. It's a shareable event, but it's nothing I want. I will just say braces like this. I don't want it. I just created a set. and I'm running. So hello world, it is what? A string type. Similarly, I want to return a different data types like this. Say if I want to return a none. So if you don't return also, by default, the none will be returned, right? Any function, when we don't return also, by default, it will return none. Again, whatever the changes you do, you need to do a deploy. If you do a deploy, you can see that hello world is coming. Why? So configure event, sorry. If I click it, I'm getting the hello world. Oh, I have two things, right? If you have two returns, the first one will come. So if I save it and if I redeploy again, now this time you can notice the difference. I will run again. See, you got null because Python none is treated as a null there. And in the same fashion, if I want to return something else, say return a list of values. So 1, 2, 3. I can redeploy and show you. So as I told you, every time when you have multiple returns, it will return only one. See here, when you have numbers, it is showing like this, right? So more properly. And also, if I want to show like return a boolean, say like true, when are two returns, the first one will take, and you can notice the same. See, control S I didn't do. So when you should save it and you rename it, then you can see the difference. And similarly, if I have only the integer strings, if I do control S, save, deploy, test, save, deploy, test. This is the process. What if I return now a combination of all these things together? Means I will say like int is like a integer, means like something. I give like a float. So float means like something point something, some number, and like int float string, right? String hello. So list list tuple same thing in a tuple I am doing same numbers. So list tuple set I have set also I want to do just to show you like how these values were taken. You know the difference, right? Set it will store only unique values. If I repeat the same thing again also, it will show only one occurrence. And the last is dict. Anyhow, dict means it will show as it is. I will say A for 1, so B for 2. So like this, I have different data types. The same thing, control S, save, deploy, and test. You see now what's happening? It is saying that I am unable to do this thing. So means like it can take all other data types except the object. So it need to understand because that this JSON is point reason is for that only purpose. Assume that like I need to know JSON.serialize is needed, but for a moment I'm just commenting the others to say that as if other things gonna work. You see, it is saying that I cannot do anything. Means whatever the dictionary that you have, that need to be converted. So that's why JSON dot we need to convert to a string. How do you convert a Python object to a string? Dump s. If I do, it will convert to a string. So if I do like this, am I using the braces correctly? Hope so. So Control S, save, deploy, run again. So what is saying? JSON object is not serializable. So json.dump is why problem? It is saying that you are doing a dump of the entire thing, but you couldn't do. So now did you understand how the log function logs are coming? With this you can understand. When you do directly also this kind of error comes, right? It is saying, see here, this is the request ID. What is this request ID when you are requesting, right? Every execution that you do will have a request ID. Every function you create has a ARN ID, means Amazon resource number. This is a request ID. What is saying? So somehow your data is unable to JSON.dump us. It's not able to do. So if I can assume, like, what could be the reason? So set is something which it cannot take. Okay, assume that I have saved it, and even dictionary I'm taking. So, but like any object that you want to pass, it can take actually. But in this case, why it is not happening? I'm trying to save and deploy and show you. It is saying that object of type set is not serializable. Yeah, that's what, right? I commented it. So again, save, deploy, and run again. So now it is happening, right? Now, by default, which data types it can showcase, which data types it cannot showcase. You understood now? No, sir. I have other data types. So means like these two it cannot do. Now we understood the exact problem. Now we are checking whether dictionaries can be passed. So let's see and run. You see? Okay, I think saved again, deployed again, ran again. It is saying dictionary is also taking. The only problem is sets are something which are not taken. You see, the list you passed and tuple you passed, both are treated in the same way. Sir, why it is happening like this means, so Python will use like Python way, but what are you seeing in the output is a JSON format. In a JSON, there is nothing like a tuple, so nothing like a list. They have called as a array. JSON means JavaScript object notation. Means in JavaScript they don't have any other things. Even if you have a boolean also, so every our bool is called as we call as true with a capital TRUE. They call it as a small TRUE. So true. So similarly, if we have a none, we call it as a none. So they call it as a null. So like that, different data types are there. If I save now, you can understand. So okay, for a moment it's taking. So if I deploy and run again, you can notice all the values are coming. So this is how a typical return values for a function will be. Function return values to understand. Next, so after this, which I forgot earlier, and coming back, yeah. So coming back to this one, where we forgot about these events. Yeah, I created like multiple functions. One of the functions I wanna create. Yes. So till now you created functions which are doing exactly directly. Let me create one more function now. Create a function called as Lambda function. This function should do both factorial and also Fibonacci series together. So I'm taking a thing and I'm creating a function. So after creating the function, till now we have a lambda which is actually doing the entire code on its own. But now for a change, what I want to do is that I want to write these functions called as Fibonacci and factorial separately. Okay, you can have separate functions also. It doesn't mean that all the code need to be executed directly. We can have this code executed separately also, and we can pull the end result from it. So whatever the result that we have, we can pull from it. So I am doing the same status code, and here Factorial and Fibonacci are two things that I have, and I'm pasting them. See here. Okay. So don't you think now it is clear? Yeah. So now I am taking what? I am taking from the event. What do you mean by event? Till so event means we need to pass for doing the things. Okay, saved it, and I am deploying, save, deploy, and test. And I'm doing a test. Test means like here, what is the function name? Say A8, right? A8 event. I can write any number. So for us to better remember, I am doing. Say what it is expecting called as the n. For the 10, if you give some number, say like 23 or 12 or something, for that number, it gonna execute. It will take that number and process both the factorial and this thing and give the result. What is saying? The name n is not defined. So in the configuration, if we can see, it's there, right? It is expecting a number called as n. Did we give exactly like that, or is an issue? To understand that, okay, I want to test. Just go. If you just want to quickly do, fine. If you want to see the existing value, I wrote like A8 event, n is equal to 12 only. Like that only I did correctly. But I am not getting it output. See, execution results. Name n is not defined. No, name n is not defined means what we need to check. The problem is somewhere in our code. Line 26, line 29, it is saying the Lambda function. So if you go to the code, then you will understand. So here we are taking the value called as n that you are passing here. And that n you are passing to factorial. So factorial also it will do. And the sum also is happening. But did you see in line 17 there is an issue? Here we are not changing n to number. That's the reason this issue came. So that's how you debugged an issue. So if everything is good now, we can just deploy it. You see now if I deploy and if I run again, okay, save, okay, name nu is not defined, means I didn't do clearly. So where is that it is showing? So line 17 and line 19. Maybe like it didn't save properly. So control S again and deploy and then test again. Now it's working. Means sometimes when you're doing a save also, it will not do save automatically fastly. So that's the reason you get an issue. Now when you got the result, you got the factorial is something and so and so. If you want for a different value, you can go and change. Or so every time instead of creating an event, you go to the second tab where is test. There you change all the values. Say I want to say 34 and I want to just run it. So for 34, what would be the result? You can see the output here itself. You got it? If I give 34, I got a very big number. So Fibonacci also very good thing. And did you see as the numbers are increasing, so the time it is taking is increasing. And building duration, see here, I was built for 2 milliseconds. What is the maximum capacity used? This much. And resource is this much. Means the more you are trying to use, the more it's gonna be. Say instead of that, if I say some, so 234, it's a very big number I'm giving. And you see the numbers when if I do, so it will execute and test. Did you see the values are very big enough? And how much I was built for? Earlier I was built for just 2 milliseconds. Now I was built for like 17 milliseconds. And the duration it executed is this much time. So I will be build for both my seconds and also the memory consumption. But even then there is a limits. How much you can execute? Max. So 15 minutes. You cannot have a lambda beyond that. For that there is another thing called as step functions. But in general, this is what happens. In the CloudWatch logs also we can see. See how many invocations I did? Invocation means execution. all the invocations you are seeing and the results of these invocations. So first time how much it took. So billing how much, memory usage. So memory usage is like almost constant, but billing duration is different because of the duration of chain. So similarly, most expensive invocation, which was the most expensive? Right now executed, right? That is the most expensive. So rather if I go for one more function which is like taking very less, this time say if I just go for one, so one is literally nothing, right? In its sense, if I execute now, I just got this much. So minimum also 2 milliseconds, right? So even if you do less also, the minimum will be to take. So this monitoring section is where you see all the CloudWatch logs of each of the events, and you can see detailedly each of the events. What is the billet duration, billet so and so. Based upon these numbers, I will show you after how to make a log. So query on these logs, CloudWatch metrics logs. So this is how we have. This is the log stream and others. And you can see view CloudWatch logs. If I click on that, CloudWatch is again another product. For logs, all of the logs of all the products, we have a centrally one product. Like that, for everything, they created separate products. So you can see in the CloudWatch is another thing. In the CloudWatch, you can see all the logs together at one place. So we can do some kind of alarms also. If continuously some logs are coming in a particular way, you can create an alarm. So and others. You see total traffic, how many errors, how many some, all kind of a dashboard. So this is all about it. So coming back, next, if I want to create one more Lambda function. So till now, I made use of different kinds of things within the event. And this event object, if I further use it, um, yes. Uh, Let me give you one last example here. This event we are using till now in all the way. Let me give you one more example. B1. Okay. Say I have taken a example like this. Um, Python example. I'm just creating a function, and in this Lambda, okay, I created a Lambda now. In this Lambda, I want to use more about the event Lambda further. So till now also we are using the event. So now I have more things. You see, I have a somewhat complicated. Instead of just taking one value, I am giving like this. Now I have from the event itself, I want this one. From the event, I want this one. From the event, I want this one. So I want here headers, body like that. Now for this particular example, you need to create a event object here itself. Then we can dump there. What is the event object? They're saying that there should be a request content. By seeing the code itself, you understood that within this key, there is another key. So that's the reason this request ID is part of it. Hope you are understanding how I am creating a based upon these values within it. So request ID one I give. So values are not needed for us. Mainly this one. And then you have some path, something like so temp slash path, something I give. And next thing, so you have like HTTP method. So which is also at the base level. You pass the HTTP method. Say get I am doing. And similarly, you have a query parameters, query string parameters. I need to have a query string parameters. Query string parameters means you can have like, or else more clearly. So page number call Yeah, page number. Query parameters are page number and page size. Maybe like if you want these also like a values, you can have like this here. Page number colon 1, page size colon 10 records per page. Okay. So now I created a request body like this to facilitate it. Now I got everything. So I take this request body. So and then now I need to save, deploy, and test. During the test, I can give this thing. Save B1 event I wrote. So it's a shareable event I wrote. And here I'm giving the entire content. Now I gave it. So if you want to see the format JSON, you can write it so that it can format it and you can execute it. So now you can see the entire content. If I execute right now, you see it's getting a key error. What is saying? Hey, I am looking for something called as the headers, which I didn't get. So in event, it is looking for something called as headers. Headers. Did I give the exact name called as headers? I can go to the test and check for headers. I didn't give headers, right? Here? Yes. So like this, you need to debug, okay? So headers are like any custom headers you have. Something, whatever you have headers. Say like application JSON or something. So once I give a key, then I can do a format JSON and then I can test again. So again, I got the error. So I want to see the log here itself. It is saying what? Hey, error message body, key error. You don't have a body. So did you give the body information here? No. So the body is another thing which is missing. The body. So my intention here is just to create the content and facilitate it. So execute it and you ran. Now it ran successfully. So you got all the information. So if I go back to this code, so what is your expectations from this? You are printing this content and you are returning it. You are nowhere taking these results and you are passing it to it, right? So that's the reason you are getting hello world. So should we do a print in the real world means no. If you do a print, only your content will come. If you want the entire content to come, you should pass as a response. Only then you can get. If you print, that makes no sense. You can't even understand it, right? So when you print, see in the test results, if you see the execution, so here also nothing it is showing, right? So means stdio print result is no use anywhere. Okay, now you understood this one. The next part of this function is about the context. Till now we are using lambda with event only. Means what are you pass you are using. Then what is this concept called as context? To understand that, let me create one more function called this one. Say I created like this meta function. So Python 3.9, it will create a function. So I want to get the function metadata. If you want to get the function metadata information, I want to understand about this context. What is this context? How it can help me? So I want to do debugging locally, but print statements are not helping me. Then what is the solution? What are I want to do? I want to display so as a response. Then I will understand. So I want to first display this context. What are the context object is there that I want to take and execute it? I want taking. So context means what are is about the function. There is no point of adding anything here. So if I say like empty, so I don't want anything. So shareable also, because in this case I am not considering anything from the external. So function related things only I want looking for. What is saying object is not serializable. So means like it is a more than a dictionary, I would say. You cannot directly get the values out of it. So maybe like I will try to convert it to like a dictionary to better help us. Okay. So I am trying to convert to a dictionary so that I can deploy it. Okay. So saved, deployed, and ran it, but still it's not working. So we need to go to individual values and do it. So for that, there are like multiple things. Generally, when you have a dictionary, if you want to access the values, you need to do dictionary of in a syntax, right? But this is like a extra different way. You can directly also access the values, or like a dictionary key also you can access. So it will be both like an attribute at the same time like this. Both ways it will work. So that's how this object is actually. And from that, if you want the function name, function version, group, log stream, memory, invoked, request ID, all that we can get. So I got this information and save, deploy, and test. Save, deploy, test. If I do right now, you're getting like what is the function name? What are we defined? What is the function version? The latest. Till now, we are not going to the concept of version. So I told versioning is somewhere we can do the checkpoint to get to the previous version. And log group name. So which are the log group name? Means where the logs are stored. So logs also stored in the same names. So the log stream name. So how much memory usage limit. So when we create, we can configure those limits also. So if you scroll down, you can see the limits. What is the properties of it? So and like memory, if you want more memory and others. And next, what is layers? I will tell that. But like this is the basic things. Any runtime configuration, if you want to change, you can change it. So you can see the request ID. Request ID is something very unique. Every time you execute, the request ID will be different. So this is how. For this execution, how much memory it took and all these things it is showing. You see, I am passing here status code is equal to 200. That's the reason when I'm executing here, you can see the succeeded. Now I want to check what will happen if I don't pass this thing called as success. Status code is equal to 200, which you are passing every time. And in the body, you are passing all the things. See, whatever you passed as it is coming, right? Status body. Then I want to check like, will this status will be something else? What if happens if I don't pass it? If I don't pass it, again save and deploy. And if you want to test, did you see nothing happen? So, but then where this particular status is used means, assume that this lambda is consumed by another tool. So another REST API or something. Then it makes more sense to use these things. So after doing this thing, next quickly going to the next one. So you see, yeah. Next going further, quickly to the another lambda. For this context object, I can get like further more things. So one more function on this context. This is how I create a lambda. Now it's very easy for you to know because we created like multiple functions. I think this is 17th or 18th function which I'm creating. So once you create a movement, it will take and you can walk through the things. Okay. I want to know more about this context. For the context, as I told, I showed only few contexts, but there are still a lot of contexts. If I say show you, you see here. So the get remaining time in milliseconds, the get context, function name. So some of the things are repeated, but still you have function execution ID, memory usage, so duration, start time, end time. All these things are there. So sometimes whenever you are working, we may need some of the others. So in that case, we can make use of it. And again, as it is like a one which is not taking anything, I can use an existing one which is not taking. Say empty event. I don't even want anything as it's not taking. So I saved it and deploy. So Lambda object has no attribute. Object has no attribute. So memory left. Say where is memory left? It will show you the line also, line 39. In line 39. So in line 39, what is saying? Okay, memory left. In memory minus memory left, I wrote, right? Memory limit minus memory left. It is saying memory left is not there. Maybe some of the attributes that might have been removed. So it is not there, it is saying. Okay, so if I comment it. So here in terms of uses also, I should see, right? I should see. So here it is used. I need to comment here also. And if I deploy and run again. So similarly, it is saying that you don't have a request ID. So error message request ID key error. So even don't have a request. Means from the, it is taking not only the context elements, it is taking the event object also. Yeah, see here. So why it is taking the event request, which I do not need, right? The event is not needed. So if I remove it, so request ID is also not needed. If I deploy it and run again, save, deploy, test. So this time it says user ID. Why it is taking event user again? Okay, these are all user related things. User ID, actions, and so and so. User ID, action, user ID, action value, something. Okay, if I save it again and deploy, and if I run test again. See, whenever I'm getting an issue, I'm trying to identify. Again, it is showing line 56. There is an error. Where is 56? So, what is the error again? I think it was not saved previously. Yeah, it is showing this icon, right? Deployments didn't save. You see, now it's happening. So now it is showing the other error. Some of the response is not unmatchable. Content of the object is not serializable. Somewhere you are getting a different data type, which we need to identify. Just take it as an assignment. Just walk through it. You see which of that object which is not convertible. So, and do the corresponding action. Lastly, if I go for the next thing in these lambdas, after this event and context, the next one is on the environmental variables. If you see a function, lambda function, if you want to create, you create like that. I created a lambda function now. In this lambda function, so I want to use the environment variables. If you want to know the environment variables of anything, so how do you use? Import OS. So using OS module only, we get the environment variables. If you want to get the environment variables of anything, so you can get like that. Typically, if you go for any AWS, so it's not that everything should have all of them. In a real project, we will have these environment variables most commonly used. So Lambda related, access key, secret key, session token, and like bucket name, SQS bucket name. So we will configure these informations because we will change these values very often, right? So based upon the values it should do. That's the reason we don't pass these values. So how do you get these values? os.environment did get. So currently don't have. Then how do you get it? So if I deploy, so save, and I am testing. So it is also like empty. I am not taking anything. I am not taking any input. It is empty. So when I don't take anything, how do you pass? Till now I need to get the values, but I didn't get any value. So either in context I need to pass. Context means the lambda related things. Event means users will pass. Then how is this environment variables means? So within this code, if you see, I need to check for the environment variables. If I go for the configuration, test, monitor, configuration. Under the configuration, there is section called as environment variables. In that environment variables, we need to configure. And this, if you want to configure an environment variable, we can specify. Say like AWS region, I want to say. So AWS region is say, I am saying that I am working on, so EU, so what is this? London region. So EU, London means EU West 2. So EU West 2, I give. And similarly, if I have one more environment, say Lambda function name, Lambda function name. Say I want to say like C using environment variables. I want to use some of them I want to write or whatsoever. So if I do, this is one way of adding the environment variables, key and a value, key and a value. Similarly, sometimes these environment variables need to be encrypted also. So that also we can do. Enable helpers for the encryption in transit. Transit means during the code executions and others, when it is retrieving these values, it should be encrypted or not. That information it is asking. And also there is one more thing called as KMS, Key Management Service. If you use that, we can encrypt this one such that in the Lambda we need to decrypt it. That is an additional functionality. But if I save it now, Lambda was unable to configure this environment because these environment variables have to be provided have contains reserved keywords, because you should not use these values as your own environment variables. You can use your own things, but like you should not use these things. I gave the standard environment variables. Then how these environment variables will come? You are not supposed to configure them. Then like how do we get it? So before going to there, we can configure our own things. Say like name, name. So it's not like every time it should be capital. So I can say like name is equal to Uday and like age is equal to some 30. I have configured this. If I save it, now it is taken. So if I go back to my code, in this code, along with my content, I will add two more things. Say like name, so os.environ dot get of name, age, os.environ dot get of age. So like that, I added two more keys: save, deploy, and test. When I did a save, deploy, and test, you got Uday is equal to name, age is equal to 30. And did you see? You forgot to see. I didn't configure these values, but I got automatically EU West 2, so AWS Lambda. So did you see that? These values I didn't configure, but I got automatically, right? When I tried to configure, it said you should not configure these environment variables. So these environment variables, even if I don't configure also, they are coming automatically. Hope you understood the difference between the things and that. So that's the reason I showed this such that these are the reserved environment variables which you should not configure, or it won't even allow you to configure. So, but others it will allow you to configure. But once you configure, this is how it works. And if you want to encrypt, there is another option that you need to use. So what is the use of these environment variables? Maybe you can create one good real-time example is to create a log level you want to manage based upon these results. If I create it, you can see it will create a new Lambda function. So within that Lambda, I want to execute something. Say this time I want to do some kind of logging. Till now we didn't had a logging. I created a logging called as a get logger, and I'm by default setting the level log level as info. I am checking the value of log level here. If the log level is not given by user, I'm making as info. Hope you know this concept of log level set, right? If I set a level as the info, I will get all the levels from info onwards till the end, right? So if I say deploy and I am doing a test and it is an empty because I'm not consuming anything. So there is no point. If I take it and remove and if I execute, you can notice that. So if I test it, so nothing is coming. So output. And did you see there were logs here? Till now we so for any output along from the response, you will get a logs also. But till now you never used logs, you used prints. Prints won't come, so it makes no sense. So whenever you want to use, you need to use logs only. So logs are coming in a beautiful way. Info log, warning log, message log, and so and so. So whichever you have generated, so it is getting it. But why you didn't get a debug when you executed? So again, if you execute also, you don't get a debug because the default level which was set is info. Now you want to change it. So how do you change it? You go to the configuration, go to the environment variables. So you're gonna add one log level. So log level is like debug if I placed. So I saved it. Now come back to the code and like you can do a test. Test can be done in two ways. Here also you can come and click the test. There also you can do. As now I have set the level, you can see the debug level is also coming. So that's a beauty. So this is one practical usage of it. Now going further, not only this, to understand more on it, a file, till now we have seen that every time you are returning a list or a tuple or something, what if your file, it is returning one kind of file data, so binary data. Binary data means like apart from text, any other data. A Lambda function can also return that kind of data types. To understand that, you can pass this content. See, most of the time of us is taking for creating Lambda itself. You see here, I am creating with like a image data I am taking. I am writing some content I am taking. What are the content I am getting from the body? I am taking and converting to base64 and creating a file, image file. So the same image file again I am reading. First I am creating. After creating, I am reading again. That read message I am passing as an encoding and I am returning. Did you see this time I am giving in a very proper format. Status code body is encoded and headers. Why this kind of beautiful way of returning means? So generally when this is consumed by another REST API or so and so, so it's easy for them to understand. So this is how we need to give. In fact, it's not like simple return none or return hello world something. We should give in this proper way. If I save it and I deploy, so it is expecting me to pass a body value, right? some value. So I am doing, say, like, what is this? D1 event. So for this, it is expecting a key called as body. In that body, let me give some garbage. Say something again. Now, if I save it and run it, you see it is saying like there were deployment changes, you are not saved. Now, if I run it again, did you see? Now I got a response. Body is something whatever I passed, and the response is of type image/jpg. The binary content is there. Whoever is consuming, they need to pull and they need to create a file again and save. Hope you remember I worked on request module when I'm creating a cats, dogs. I did the same way. So this is how you create something like an image. Okay, image something you may or may not understand in this direction, but CSV you can understand, right? So that's the reason let me create a CSV file. So what if it is returning a CSV data? If I save it, I created a Lambda. I want to create a CSV file and I want to return it. You see, I'm taking some data with a couple of columns and I'm returning it. If you see carefully, you'll understand. So I have like two columns and two values each. So like this I created. Hope now you can understand. I created a CSV. This data. From the data, I'm creating like a comma separated values. So with that, I am converting it to a C that and I'm returning it. This is what is my intention. Now, if I save, process is save, deploy, and test. So before doing it, is this function accepting anything from me? Event? No. I go here, and if I say like empty, I don't want anything. If I save it, oh, it should be like empty JSON. Yeah. And test it. What is saying? Hey, sequence items. Type error it is saying. Somewhere it got a type issue. When you're doing the joining process, it didn't do something properly. So it has gone to each of the row and it is joining each of the row value by comma separated values. During the process, some issue happened. Maybe like you can debug. So it is something like a typical grammar issue. Something where it is saying type error. So expected string instance but integers found. Yes. The values which are it got is like integers. That's the problem. Because you deal with dot join will take all the values, but it expects all to be strings, right? If we have like a numbers, we should convert them. That's the point. So if you do like this now, it's gonna work. Save, deploy, and test. So okay, I think it didn't save properly. Save again, deploy, test. You see now it's working. So this is how a typical response is gonna be. So this is what you expect. So fine, you got it. So similarly, so now you understood. Similarly, if I want to return a HTML file, the same thing. Same like this, you can create one more file. So I can create any number of files. So until unless they are continuously executing, I will not be charged. So individually, if you want, I can execute any number of files. I created another file right now. So this time, this file, I want it to do some other things smartly. Yeah, it created. And this time, this function, I'm just returning a HTML. I have a HTML content. But so if I deploy it and if I test it, I don't want anything. If I say empty, if I save it and test it, you see, it can return a HTML content also. Such that whenever you expose this as a endpoint, so we can create a website also. So in fact, there is a module called as Chalice. With that, we can create a framework key like this, or even a Flask application. We can do like this. We can create an endpoint. That endpoint we can open in a browser. So we can create an application also like this. So like this, we can go for different kinds of things. Now we understood this problem. Now let me go with one more thing. What I want to solve here, which it couldn't be done. Let me do here. See, yeah. Okay. Yes. So there is one more thing I want to show. So like this, the concept is very simple. This time I want to create one more function called as I want to get all the time zone informations. So to get the time zone information, I can go for this one. Say, yeah. Uh, if I want to create something, A, B, C, D, E, right? Yeah, E. If I am creating something like this, okay, I have function. If I execute, it will work. Till now, what are the functions I created? Those are like very basic. They are not using any third-party module. All the modules were already installed in Python. So means wherever it executes, it don't need to extrally install a module. But just now, let's say I'm going for another module. This time, for the current time, I want to get the time zones, time of all the time zones. Means currently, whatever the time is, it will take that time. That time it will convert to all time zones and it will represent that. Further, there is a module called as PyTZ. You know, PyTZ is something not coming by default. We need to use it. Then how to do it? Let me show you that. So I am doing like this and I am testing. So I am not taking any input. So means like empty I write and it should be like empty. And if I save it and if I test, you can notice that unable to import module function module from PyTZ. It is saying I don't know what is this module, I cannot do it. Hope you remember we have one strategy earlier. I told you whenever any module is there, for that I wrote like a try. If that module is not there, we need to install. You remember whenever this import error comes, we can do like this. I told say except import error if it comes. So you can do what? So import os dot system of pip install pytz, and then you can ask like import pytz. This is what one of the strategy we have, like automatically doing the things on its own. I saved it and I am trying to deploy it and I am testing it. What is saying? This time another issue. Import module error is not defined. It is saying error name. It is thinking like it don't even know this one. Means like maybe they disabled that. So I think like import error, right? So Python import error, how did Python import error handle? How do you handle import error? Import error, just import error we do, right? I think like directly import error itself. Import error or module not found if I'm not wrong. Yeah, not module not found. Okay, Python module not found exception. Module not found. I think this one only, module not found error. Let me see. So if I try like this, okay, save, and I'm trying to deploy. So, and if I'm trying to run, it is saying that what? Still it cannot do it. It is saying that it cannot do it. Okay, this solution is not possible. Then what is the other solution that we have? Means, so generally, this is the most common problem for anything. Then like, why can't these people already install these modules? Because we don't know where the server is executing, right? Then we don't know where these modules will be done. So for that they told like, you don't rely on us. You do everything on your own. Say, wherever you are working, you need to do everything on your own. Okay, let me show the other screen. Hope you can see the screen. Yeah. So till now we have executed all these kinds of functions. The next one is into the Lambda, this one, okay, zipping these files. So to understand this one, first of all, let me delete them all. You'll understand. So I created a new folder. Within this, I have my file. This is the file I want to do. When I upload it, I need to have the PyZ. So for that, what they told is that go to the terminal, which are the directory it is, copy path. I need to navigate to the directory. Okay. Now if you see ls, in that directory, I created a new folder. Okay. In that my file is the only one it is there. So there is one command we need to execute. Of course, all these options are not needed. Okay. So I gave like pip install. Platform is like mini Linux, something I gave and all these things. If you don't need to give all of them also fine. But which Python version you are doing? All binaries. And like what is the module you want to install? So I want to install PyTZ. And for Python 3.9. Sir, you may ask me, what is the current Python version? 3.11. But AWS is not supporting the latest version. Whichever it supports, we should use that. Till now, we are doing pip install, right? What is the difference between this command and that command? Here, we are saying in the current directory, means current directory, hey, download this module called as pip install, so pytz. It will create a wheel file. That wheel file will be downloaded. And instead of installing the module, it will be in the current directory. So now you see in the current directory, apart from your file, there will be two folders. One is a PTZ, entire module is there, right? All the exceptions, modules, everything is there. And the distutils files is there. So like that, whatever modules you are using, you need to download like that. So now your entire content is there, right? In this folder, this entire content you need to zip it. So maybe as I'm in Windows, I can select all the lines and I can zip it. And I need to execute. Okay, I select the entire file, right click, compress to a zip file. So once I compress to a zip file, you can see a new zip file is present. If I can ask for the zip file, hey, what is that you have? It has all my content. So rather, it's better to have your zip file with your name, right? Instead of that pytz names. So I changed it. You can see my file now right like this. Now what I will do, now I will pass to this function to my IL time zones. Instead of deploying here, there is another option called as upload. If the size is less than 50 GB or 50 MB, I guess, okay, we can go directly 50 MB, I guess. Less than 50 MB, you can go directly zip. If greater than 550 MB, we should go to the S3 location and give it. But zip is fine for us. I need to navigate to the directory. where my files are there right now. Say I need to first take this copy path of this and I upload it. I need to choose the directory. Once I have chosen, and if I save it, so it will execute. The code has been updated while you are making changes. So now code was updated. Now if you see in the current directory, I have my files. Apart from that, the PTZ module is there. Now if there is no more deploy, so already the code has uploaded. Now if you run, this error comes. This is a standard error every time you get it. Make a note of it. You will get this kind of error. So whenever you get an error, I am just making a note of this. Whenever you get an error, so go to the configuration and change the Lambda handler path. What is this happening? I will show you. In your function, you have this one. Fine. If you scroll down, did you see that there is something called as lambda handler dot lambda function? Till now, what are the function you create? It will do like this only. But now you need to edit this one. You need to edit to your function name, because see, every time that which function this lambda handler need to be executed. You can have 10 files also. It will check for this file to execute. This file is right now in this directory for you. I am copying that particular file. In that file only lambda handler is there. That's why I should go here and change the first one. So a so and so time dot function dot lambda handler. So this is like the extra step we need to do. Once I do it, so it is saying like changes not deployed. Yes, now deploy. All the changes were deployed. Now if I test it, so this code should now execute. Now did you see whatever is the current time, it is executing for all these time zones. For every time zone, you can see what is the current time. You see? So this is how you created one function like this. Now, so let me go do one more function. I think like you will get more confidence if you do the next one. So let me go for the next one. So same like this. Let me go for one more example. Say like another. Uh, yeah, Googling and I want to do something. Say this is my simple function which I want to do. So for that I want to do here. Let me do the code. I told right what are the function you want to do. For that we need to create a code. I told. Say after this A, let me do like a B. I create a folder. Within that folder, I place my file, because like I need to create a zip, right? So I need to create like this. In this file, I have this content. So I need to use this module called as requests. I cannot just use it directly. Then what is the solution? Now, in this second function, we need to install this Lambda again. Means like, sorry, the modules. For that, as we know, we need to use the same old command as it is 3.9 you want to do. And which module you want to do? Requests. So we should specify that request. So this is the entire path. I copied it. And I need to go to this directory where this file is there. So this is my current directory. In that current directory, I have only one file. Only one file. So now I need to run this command such that this request module also will be downloaded and I can use it. It's taking more time. Yeah, only one file is there. If I click on it, it will download to my directory. You see, it will download all. Instead of just installing, it will download local and install. So once it has downloaded, so we can zip all of them together and do it. So as it is saying like, yeah, it has done some things. And did you see now? You have all the files are coming, like how it is coming in this directory. It's a very big thing, mess. After all these folders, see, request module is using URL lib, all these things. So your folder is becoming more bulky these days. So you have this content. You need to navigate this directory, and we need to zip the entire content. And so I am taking the entire content and I'm zipping. You can use like in Windows means you can have select all the files and you can do a zip. Okay. So I created a zip file called as Lambda layer usage, which is containing all these files and along with my py file. Now, lastly, going back to your code. So where should we execute? It's not like somewhere you execute it. Again, we need to create one more function for that. So this time I want to create, say like e request module usage, right? You want to create something. Request module usage something. And I am creating a Lambda. So even if you're trying to upload also, you need to create a Lambda with all the permissions and all these things. Default you have. So once it is created, we can use it. So as it is done, so now nothing is there. I directly get from the zip file, upload. So my previous directory, if I go request module, which are is my zip, I need to upload it, save. Once saved, all the content is coming. This is fine. And I told the second step, Lambda handler. I need to take this Lambda handler. So we need to do it. So for that, what we do, go down, edit. Instead of Lambda function, we need to change to our function. Means there can be like in your code also, there can be multiple files. Your code, you can organize multiple ways. So I do a deploy, and if I do a test. So at this moment, this function, is it taking anything from me? No. It's just doing a google.com and giving a response content. So I am saying like empty, not taking anything. If I say save, and if I test it, now did you see I got the response? The google.com, whatever it is giving. Generally in a browser, whatever you get, that's what right happens. Sir, this is very hard every time pumping this much data. If you see the monitoring, there you will understand how much memory it is consuming typically. See monitoring and so this one, if you see metrics, sorry, under the monitor, if you see the metrics and others, you can see how much memory it is takes and traces. It will be like too much memory for this Lambda. Yeah, here also you can find, see here. So max memory used is like that 50 MB it is saying. I am using 50 MB for just my one call. Don't you think it's too much hard? And also one more thing is, you may ask me, sir, what if you create 10 lambdas? All the 10 lambdas are using the same request module. You need to upload 10 times, right? So that is also a problem. To avoid all those things, within the lambdas, they told to create one more concept. There is another concept. If you come to the Lambda console, there is something called as layers. If you create a layer once, we can reuse it. You can create one layer once and we can reuse it. Means what are the entire content that you have that you can upload once. and we can use it for the different runtimes. We need to specify, like, if you want Python 3.9. So for this Python 3.9 or like some other versions, whichever you want to support, means when people are running, so I can create a Lambda with Python 3.9, 3.7 or something else. This, what are the layer you created should be supported in all. If you specify, it will support for all of them. Okay, so like that we should specify. Say if I'm creating my Lambda layer, say like we should specify it's the best practice, because Lambda layer is not just confined to Python. In these Lambdas, you can create in a Node.js, Python, so Go language, multiple things. So it's a best practice to write the language name first, then the module name, request module. Or if it is a framework, you can write the framework. So you can write a description, Python request module. And do you want to upload from a zip file or from locally? So whichever way you want to do, you can do that. Say I can do from a zip file. So any compatibility issues, if you don't know something, don't touch it. I have like my content somewhere stored. I want to go there and do it. So whatever content till now we have, right? This zip file. So you can give a try. You have this entire content. This entire content is like into a zip we can create. So I can take this entire content, I can reveal in a folder, and I can do like a separate things. If you see this entire content, whatever I have, I can pass to a single request module file there. So I would say like I can create a new request module and I pass all the content here. So whatever, okay, instead of this entire content, I think I did, I did a copy instead of, so passing all of them. So whatever I copied and I want to create a zip out of it. And also when you are creating a zip, don't go to the higher directory and create a zip. It should be like a zip containing one level only. Many people when creating a zip, they'll go to the folder level and they click a right click and do a zip. We should not do like this. We should go inside that directory and do that. So here I am within this folder. I'm selecting all these files and I'm doing a zip. Means you're creating a zip within it. Request module. I created a zip. This zip I need to use. So this is the most common problem everyone faces. We should go inside that and create the zip. So what are the request module which I created? I think this one only, right? Within that, if I go navigate, I have this request module zip. So I need to create this zip and I need to make use of this zip. So using a Lambda layer. This is the concept of a Lambda layer. You created a layer. For these layers also you can create like versioning and others. And we can use these Lambdas. So again, we need to create a new Lambda. So means like, so F. So using Lambda layer, and we can specify that, so Python 3.9, and ensure that this compatibility is there, else it will not work. You remember when we created a Lambda, we gave the checklist. So to what runtimes it should be compatible, I gave that. So those things we need to specify and then we can use it. So after getting this function, we can just use it and do it. So similarly, so when you are working with it, so instead of just doing all of that, let me do one more example, like Lambda layers. So I want to get the, random users or something, or previous example only, let me take. So whatever you have, say, okay, so getting the user content and you want to use it. So in this function, when you have done, okay, so you can do a deploy and you can do a test. So when you do a test, you won't get anything. And we should specify like empty. And if I say like this, if I execute, so it we should say that Lambda function we cannot do. We understood? Then within the configuration, within the test. Uh, yeah. Okay, so we need to configure here. Yeah, sorry, here. Yeah, down itself. For the function, we should come down. And here in the layers, we should specify. So choose a Lambda layer. So Lambda app insights or so and so, whichever is provided. Pandas SDK. See here, these are ready-made. Pandas, some things are already there. But custom layer, custom means see here. AWS is providing few of them, which are ready-madely used. App configure, Lambda insights, pandas, etc. Custom layers means mine. So I created a request module. Which or is the version? I did which first version I want to use. I can use it and do. You like this, you can start working. It will execute. Yeah. I added like generic information, like whichever you do on a real-time uses, like encoding something, decoding, generating a QR code. So like the different applications I added. So using Lambda layers, how to use the same functions you can use once you configuration is done. Then like zodiac signs, I gave some examples, pandas usage, numpy usage. So Lambda layers you can use. And the last point is about within the Lambda, if you want to process any of the S3 buckets or any other files, you have this thing module called as Boto3. If you use the Boto3, you can connect to that and do. Means if you want to create an S3 bucket, you can just create it with this. So these modules, so also in the same way you can do S3 modules. So uploading a file. So downloading a file. So Boto is a module which you need to do for all these things. And finally, if I have some time in the next class, I can discuss about the event triggered architectures, means like how to create and others. So with this, I'm completing it.